Hockey Talk Show.
So excited. Big news happening in the world of the National Hockey League. We have a trade. We have a wire pickup. We got some new jerseys to talk about. Sid the Kid is on a cold streak right now. Maybe the coldest of his career. Actually, he's about to reach the coldest of his career. We'll get into all of that and more on this episode of the Hockey Talk Show. Phone number is live to get in touch with us. 631-438-1768. That's 631-438-1768. Show is live on Facebook and YouTube. Let's get right into it. Got a trade today to talk about. Exciting. I love trades. I don't know what it is about me, but I do enjoy the hell out of a trade. I really do. I like a trade. I'm not going to lie to you. When I hear that there's a trade, I get excited. I mean, even if it doesn't necessarily involve my team, I'm psyched. I'm psyched for a trade. Super excited for a trade. This one's a low-level one, but still kind of made me scratch my head a little bit, sort of a deal. You know, Louis Domingue, who struggled and was awful for the Arizona Coyotes, played himself right out of a job. I thought, this is it for this youngster, unless he can figure out a way to catch on somewhere. Oh, by the way, do you like we decorated our hockey sticks in the back. You kind of can't even really see that they're hockey sticks. We're trying to get holiday cheer going on here. Put some Christmas lights on the hockey sticks. I don't know if that's really playing on the live stream. But we're trying. I don't know. What's weird is they're pretty big, and every now and then they kind of, because I just kind of threw them up there, and every now and then they kind of move and move down a bit. So it's a little alarming, but I think we'll be okay. But I wouldn't be surprised if they all came just plummeting down any second now. Anyway, I'm sorry. I got distracted there. I get distracted easily, especially by bright, shiny objects. 631-438-1768 is the phone number in case you want to get in touch with the Hockey Talk Show. Call in. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on the trade. We got some jerseys to take a look at. We got a lot of stuff to look at on today's episode. There's always stuff to talk about, which is exciting. Thank God we have the Montreal Canadiens, because if we didn't have the Montreal Canadiens, I don't know if we'd have half the shows we have this year on the Hockey Talk Show. But anyway, let's get back to this trade. Lightning and Arizona Coyotes, they lock up. Coyotes send Louis Domingue over to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and going the other way, Ty McGinn, a forward for Tampa, or was for Tampa, and Michael Leighton, which I thought was a pretty interesting trade all around, considering now Leighton not really playing all that much with Tampa this year. Certainly Vasilevsky is the man there. Nobody doubts that. Nobody's taking anything away from Vasilevsky. He's the guy, no doubt. I'm not sure if Leighton even played this season. Had he even gotten into a game? No. I'm assuming he was down in the minors, so super low-end deal for the Tampa Bay Lightning. But obviously they're seeing something in Louis Domingue that they weren't seeing in Michael Leighton. Then again, Leighton's 30. How old is he? 36. So he's kind of at the tail end of his career. This is obviously a move where both of these guys are going to wind up in the minors, although maybe Arizona's looking at this going, who knows, you know, for Ranta, we'll get, you know, they've been super sourly disappointed by their goaltending stock, and rightfully so. So figure, let's get the veteran in here and see what he can do. So I understand it from their standpoint. It's a real flyer. You know, you hear the term, they took a flyer on so-and-so. I think it's a real flyer for the Tampa Bay Lightning to pick up Louis Domingue. I'm not saying that I hate the move. I don't. I certainly don't hate the move. It's obviously a depth move. It's not that big of a deal, but Domingue was so downright terrible that it's hard to justify him getting a move, you know, him picking up an interest from anybody. But as they always say, one man's treasure is another man's trash. So take that for what it's worth. Tampa Bay trying to, I guess, get a garage sale deal here, picking up Louis Domingue off of the Arizona Coyotes after they had no problem letting him go. Peter Budaj obviously is going to be the number 2 there. So like I said, it's a minor league deal really, but Domingue was so downright awful. I'm surprised they found anybody to take him. And, you know, not for nothing, I'm not aware of Ty McGinn's game all that much. So clearly he's not that killer. But, you know, because if I don't know him. But, you know, Arizona picked up 2 assets when you think about it for somebody that they were probably going to either A, put on waivers or never sign again, or throw down into the minors and never really have to think about again, you know? Speaking of thinking about things, Sidney Crosby is definitely thinking about goal scoring. He is hoping to avoid the longest goal drought of his NHL career. Pens and Sabres tonight. He's got a good chance at putting one in against the Sabres. That's for damn sure. Easy targets right now. You see there Jack Eichel and Sidney Crosby, courtesy of NHL.com. Those two will do battle tonight. Sid has gone 11 games since he scored a goal. And he scored 4 goals in 3 games before that. So 11 games since he scored a goal. October 14th to the 20th, he scored 3 goals. He's gone 12. He went 12 straight games without scoring a goal back in the 2011-2012 season. So Sid the Kid hopes to avoid that tonight as he heads into this matchup against the Buffalo Sabres, having not scored in his last 11 games. It's not that big of a deal for Sidney Crosby, but still, somebody throwing the smiley face on. I'm trying to pay attention a little bit more to the YouTube and the Facebook chats. Thanks for whoever threw the smile, the laughter at Sid. We like laughing at Sid, don't we? It's just because we're sour. It's just because we are flat out sour. We all hate him so much because he's so damn good. And unless you're a Pittsburgh fan, you know, it's kind of hard not to hate him. November 23rd, 2011 to March 24th, 2012, in a season in which he missed 60 games, was the last time he had 17 assists in that time period. So definitely throwing some more helpers around than anything else, but not getting the puck on the net. Ball Peach, shut him out, Sabres. I think the Sabres have a shot tonight, but I don't know, man. That Pittsburgh team is good. Ball Peach, I want to know if you're depressed, man, looking at this Sabre team, because I'm depressed watching them. I'm depressed watching the Sabres, dude. I thought they were going to be a lot better than they were. I mean, I realized they still had a lot to build on, but here's the thing, and this is coming from I worked for the Islanders. I'm a big Islander fan. I know how to be, you know, non-biased. You know, I know how to be fair. I just don't like the Okposo. I don't like Okposo's contract. I don't like Matty Molson up there. There's a couple of things I don't like. There's a couple of things I love. Obviously, Eichel. I love Ristolainen. I love Leonard. I mean, there's some pieces in place. I have a feeling Sabres can be great in 2 or 3 years, but I don't know about that Doc Poso deal. I would have liked him to have the Ducks got his lottery ticket. Yeah. There's a lot of things I would have liked to have had happen, my man. What else do we have to talk about? Jerseys and logos and draft picks. Should we get into the Montreal Canadiens, though? I mean, they're making news for us every single day, which is quite wonderful. As somebody who has a show that needs to fill time, it's a great thing to have. The Habs have been well. They've been playing really well. We talked about them before they got out of this funk that they were in, that, you know, they were playing better but weren't getting the results. And then all of a sudden they kind of picked up their game. They didn't have the resurgence that the Rangers had, but they certainly did well enough to sort of get themselves back into the mix here. They're not, and by no stretch of the means, are, you know, they are no way out of the woods just yet, but they're playing much better hockey. They're getting great goaltending, which is what we're really going to be talking about here. They're 8-9-1. They're 7-3 in their last 10, though. That's what you want to look at. If you watch the Hockey Talk show, I talk a lot about the last 10. Momentum is huge in the National Hockey League. It's always a big deal how you're doing in your last game, your last 5, your last 10. That really gives you a picture of how you're going to continue to go in the National Hockey League. Overall record, important. I love looking at the last 10 games because to me, momentum is everything. Confidence is everything. When you're feeling good and you're going good, you can continue to build on that momentum. Rangers, by the way, 8-2-0 in their last 10. I mean, they just continue to be hot. And when you look at the rest of the East, especially in the wild card race, everybody has been around 500, sans the Islanders, who are 6-3-1 in their last 10. You got, including, by the way, the Pittsburgh Penguins, who have fallen into a wild card spot. Washington has come up. Pittsburgh has fallen down into the first wild card position. Again, this is all super, super early to be looking at, but still, that just gives you an idea of how everybody's playing and where they're slotted right now in the standings. But back to Montreal, they're in this thing with Carey Price where, their whole entire franchise rides on Carey Price, hence the term franchise player. But he's been injured, I feel like, almost every single year and for long, long stretches of time. And here's a guy that you just signed long term at $10.5 million a year. I got to be honest with you. It's not like I'm saying I would give up on Carey Price. But if I'm Marc Bergevin, I'm dreading the fact. If I'm Marc Bergevin, I'm signing Carey Price. I want you to know where I'm coming from on this. I'm signing him. If I'm in the same exact position long term, I could let him go this and that, blah, blah, blah. Carey, here's a piece of paper. Write how much you want. We'll make it work. That's what I'm doing. I got to get you. I got to have you on the team. It's so hard to be the manager that lets a star player walk. Honestly, nobody really lets star players walk, period, anymore. I mean, no matter how much you think it might be better to let this guy go, people, you look at the league, there's not a lot of movement. There's a lot of guys staying. Steven Stamkos is a great example, even though Yzerman really rolled the dice on that one. But, it's hard to let a franchise star player walk. So that's where I'm at with that. But that being said, if I'm a general manager of a team, I don't want Carey Price, Henrik Lundqvist, Jonathan. I don't want my goaltender making $10 million. I don't. I just don't know if this league is really built on that. To me, the $4 to $5 to $6 million goaltender with a $1.5 to $2 to $2.5 million backup, I feel so much more confident in. I really do. And it's not a proven thing. Like my example would be like, hey, Devin Dubnyk, this and that. Dubnyk's not having a great year for Minnesota. They're obviously struggling. So it's not like it's foolproof. But to me, to hang that much percentage of your salary cap on one player, and especially a goaltender, damn it, that's hard. That's hard. I just wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I legit would not be able to sleep at night. I would be a smidge terrified. I'm not going to lie to you. If you're asking me, like, again, if I'm in Marc Bergevin's situation, do I re-sign Carey Price? 1,000,000,000%. Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. If you're asking me from a fantasy standpoint, and if I could build any goaltender situation in the world, which one would I build? The $4 million, $5 million starting goaltender with a $2 million backup, or the $10 million starting goaltender with a whatever backup? I'm going to go for the whatever backup 9 times out of 10. I don't want that $10 million player. It's just too scary for me. It's just too scary. 631-438-1768 if you want to call into the show. 631-438-1768. The phone line is completely open for you. Anything you want to talk about, if it's the Canadiens or if it's the streak of Sidney Crosby or if it's the minor league trade today with Louis Domingue. The Tampa Bay Lightning, wherever you want to go, I'm more than comfortable in going. 631-438-1768 is the phone number. We are going to hear from Mark Bergevin. You know what? Let's do that right now as we continue to talk about Carey Price and the Montreal Canadiens. Carey Price injured in the game the other night in Minnesota. He said that he had sort of felt something, sort of got tweaked a little bit. It happened in the warm-up. He played the game anyway. And now, as you can see, the Montreal media is just losing their mind, just losing their mind. Josh on YouTube chat, I like the Tampa goalie situation with Vasilevsky, only $3.5 million per year. Josh, my man, 10 hockey show points for you, my brother, for pointing that out. Prime example, my man. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Vasilevsky on 3.5. Now, when Vasilevsky's term comes up, are you going to have to shell out and pay him? You sure are. Is he going to be a $10 million goaltender? I don't know about that. But, the point that Josh makes and the point that Josh made for me is that I like being in the bargain bin as far as goalies come, as far as goalies are concerned. I like finding the diamonds in the rough. Goaltenders like Marty Brodeur and Patrick Waugh, there's not a lot of them. If you look right now, it's Carey Price, it's Henrik Lundqvist, it's Jonathan Quick. The list is super short of goalies that you want to hang your entire franchise on and play for 60 games at a clip. Those kind of goaltenders. I don't know. The Vasilevskys of the league, the Thomas Greiss, Jarl Halak combinations, the Mike Smiths, they're a little bit, I wonder what Mike Smith is making. I think they're just a little bit, gives you a little bit more flexibility as a general manager. You know what I mean? It gives you a little bit more flexibility as a manager, because now you're not hung up on $10 million in case you got to make a move somewhere, in case you got to make something happen last minute. Mike Smith's on a $4.25 million deal. Great deal for Calgary. Great deal. They got Eddie Lack in there for 1.3. To me, that's a manageable goaltending situation right there. With the Canadiens, if, Carey Price starts to stink and has a couple of bad years, you're stuck playing Stinko $10 million. I don't think that's going to happen, but what is pretty evident is he can get hurt, and he has been known to be hurt. Now, the reason why the Montreal media has lost their mind over this situation is he got hurt in the warmups. He thinks he felt something. He felt a tweak. Again, we don't know what the injury is because they don't nobody anymore tells you what the injuries are. So he feels like he got hurt a little bit in the warmups. He played the whole game anyway. He gave up 3 goals, I think, in the first period. He did not look good. His lateral movements were not good. And he continued to play. And of course, the Montreal media hears about this and they bounce off the roof, and rightfully so. Look at what he did in that 15-16 season. The guy just kept playing. He played and he got himself hurt, and he was out for a huge part of the season. And that's when the Canadiens, remember, they had that huge lead and they just plummeted in the standings, just plummeted, and you don't want to risk doing that again. By the way, he hasn't even started his 10.5 mil. That hasn't even really kicked in yet. I don't believe. Has it? I think that starts next season. I mean, that's a long time with a guy, especially if he gets hurt before the damn thing even kicks in, for the love of Pete. Yeah, it hasn't even kicked in yet. He's making 6.5 this year, and it goes up to 10.5 next year, and he'll be making 10.5 for the next 40,000 years. I know you think it's an 8-year deal. It's not. It's 40,000 years. It is a lifetime. And to go back to my point and my man Josh's point on YouTube, thanks for tuning in, bud. You look at Charlie Lindgren, who they've brought in here, this young kid, 23 years old, making $700,000. Guy's lighting it up. Charlie Lindgren's lighting it up. In 4 games, he's 3-1 with a 1.24 goals against average. See, this is what I'm talking about. No one saw Devin Dubnyk coming. No one saw Cam Talbot coming. These guys, Matt Murray, where the hell did Matt Murray come from? These guys are out there, you know, and it's like anything else. Goaltenders are like stocks, man. You can have a pretty good idea which ones are going to do well, but by the time you know somebody's going to do well, they're probably priced way too high. And like any other stock, you got to get lucky. You got to kind of ride the wave when they're down here, and hopefully they get up here. And when they do, and you're in, Vasilevsky, man, $3.5 million. Ride that wave. Ride that wave all the way to a Stanley Cup. That's why it's risky with goaltenders. Super risky with goaltenders. You buy Facebook stock when it first comes out, awesome. Apple stock when it first comes out, awesome. You're golden. To buy one of these high-priced stocks right now, I don't know, dude. I don't know. Especially when all the financial pundits say the crash is coming. That scares me. So everybody in Montreal is really upset because Carey Price went out there and played even after he hurt himself a little bit. We'll hear from Marc Bergevin, the Montreal Canadiens general manager, on this situation and his thoughts, him being asked, what are you going to do with the goaltending situation when Carey Price comes back and you got Charlie Lindgren in here playing so well? What's the answer, Mr. Bergevin?
Well, it's when Carey's back, we'll reevaluate our goalie situation, and same thing when Monty's back. But I mean, you saw what happened with Vegas, and they hang up calling a goalie from junior. So he was available for us, and like I said, he's been he has experience. Steph knows him well, so we're just being cautious.
Carey said he was injured in the.
We're just being caution. I like that. We're just being caution. Let me translate that for you. Marc Bergevin said a lot of things, but what Marc Bergevin is really thinking of and what he's going to do with his goaltending situation. He literally, that's like, if you want, I feel like, what is that true? There's a great YouTube channel, like True Trailers, where they show you what really happens or something. Like, this is what happens in the movie, but the kind of truth behind it all. This is the truth behind Marc Bergevin. What are you going to do when all your goalies come back? I don't know. Because Montoya's hurt too. And Montoya has been okay. In fact, I think freakishly, Montoya and Carey Price, even though Carey Price has played like 14 games and Montoya has played far less, I think they each settled in at 3.77 goals against average, which is kind of freakish to have two-year goaltenders playing completely separate amounts of games. And, you know, they wound up in the same goals against average, which is weird. But here comes this young kid, Charlie Lindgren, and he's lighting it up. You know, he's killing it. Back to Marc Bergevin on the Carey Price situation. What do you think about him going in and playing is the next question after he tweaked this in warmups. He could have came out. You could have taken the caution. You could have, taken a little bit more caution. Taking the cautioned route here with Carey Price, but he stayed in and he played the game. He didn't tell anybody. What do you think about that, Marc Bergevin?
Up in Minnesota, did he say anything to the medical staff after that, or were you guys unaware of that?
I was not aware that he got hurt in warm-up. I find out after the fact. And lots of time, players do get hurt, and as you get warmed up, you don't feel it anymore. And then the next day when you wake up, you get some either stiffness or pain. So that's what happened with Carey, but I didn't know until the next day.
This isn't his first injury, obviously. How concerned are you going forward now since his new contract doesn't even kick in?
Injuries are part of the game. I mean, I can't really. Players do get hurt, and I'm sure it's not the last time he's going to get hurt, but that's just come with playing hockey.
That last question there, he was asked, what are you going to do? What do you think? How do you feel with him going into this big $10 million contract that you just signed him to, and he's been hurt consistently over the years here? Big injury. God, I would hate to see what the insurance policy is on this deal. Oh, my goodness. Now, when I was with the Islanders, God, I'm trying to think. The years that I worked for the Islanders, Rick DiPietro was there, and he was getting hurt. Remember, he got signed to that big 15-year contract. It wasn't so big money-wise, but term-wise, it was 15 years in length, which was a grand gesture by Charles Wang, who had nothing but wonderful intentions. nothing but wonderful intentions as the owner of the National Hockey League, New York Islanders, but clearly not the right move to be making here. Really, really not a good hockey move. But I remember when he finally went out on injured reserve, long-term IR, the insurance company pays. So not only are these teams signing these guys to these long-term deals, something that nobody really talks about are the insurance policies that they take out against these players. Now, I don't remember the exact workings of the DiPietro deal. I know that at some point, although he was still on the payroll for the Islanders, and he will be forever, he's like Bobby Bonilla for the Mets. Every year, Bobby Bonilla gets $1 million check from the Mets because that's how they structure this buyout. Honestly, to like 2025, it's something ridiculous like that. But back to Ricky, I know at some point he stayed on the Islanders cap hit. He was always a cap hit, but they stopped actually paying him, and insurance took over, and insurance paid the rest of his contract. Although there was something, and I don't want to get too personal into Ricky's business, but I remember there being something there where insurance didn't even finish paying him off. Like, I think the insurance company even looked and said, Rick, I mean, honestly, did you ever deserve this money? Not really, though, right? You know, it was kind of a fluke. Can we do one of these and walk away? And he was like, yeah, sure, I get it. I made enough money off of this contract that I never really deserved. But it's a risk. Like I said, it's hard to hang that much money and term and faith on one player, even if they have the God-given talent of Carey Price, who is, by arguments, the best goaltender in the game today. Certainly not having the great results. Certainly Montreal's not off to the killer start that they want to be, but he's one of the best in the game. I think he's a little bit better than Lundqvist. He's certainly younger than Lundqvist, which is a little bit of an unfair comparison, but still, I think he's a little bit better than Jonathan Quick, even though he doesn't have the cups to show for it. But still, he's one of the best in the game. Even as good as he is, it's a physical, hard, grinding 82 game long season. It's hard to do that. It's hard to hang all that on one player. But again, if I was Bergevin, I wouldn't, I would not have walked away from, signing him up. I would have definitely done the same thing that Bergevin did, which was sign him to a deal. Here's a great, Josh is my all-star for this game. Thanks for hanging out, brother. Appreciate it, dude. Bishop's contract was up in Tampa. They just traded him. That might be the way to go. You know, it was it's always interesting, and we see a lot of teams do this, and it's not popular when they do decide to move on from one of their stars, but it does happen. Ben Bishop is clearly a great case, and that's management having confidence in themselves to evaluate players. Stevie Y and the whole staff there in Tampa at some point said, look, this Vasilevsky kid is good. He's inexpensive. He's a little bit more consistent maybe than Bishop, or at least we think he's going to be. Bishop had some injuries. Bishop was a good goal. I like him. I like a big goaltender, but they don't need him. And the best case scenario, trade him, get something in return. And they dumped him off in the West. He didn't go to down. Where'd he go? To the Kings. He went to the Kings, and that was a great, he got A++ for Stevie Y on that move. It was just a great move on his part to identify what you have coming up. The Islanders are going through the same thing right now. Islanders said bye-bye to Travis Hamonic, one of the most, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, one of the best defensemen in the league as far as what he's being paid. Look, he's no Drew Doughty. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying for his contract and what he's making, super affordable. He's like a Matt Cullen. Or what's his name for Pittsburgh, number 9 with the thing. He was I want to say Dubois, but that wasn't it. Anyway, you get these guys on affordable deals. It's killer to see that, and you got to know who you have coming up. Islanders move on from Travis Hamonic even with that great deal because they know they have Pelech and Pulak. These things sort of happen all the time. At some point, the Canadiens moved on from Theodore because they knew they had Carey Price, there and coming down the pipe. So really interesting times for the Montreal Canadiens. I'm sure Bergevin wasn't too happy with Carey Price and playing through the injury. Although the interesting thing with Carey Price here is just when you want to get mad at him for not showing enough caution, he turns around and says, if this was a playoff game tonight, I'd be in the lineup. So clearly it's not anything that's killing him too much, at least in his head, or maybe he's just too stupid to realize his own limitations. I don't know. But he's saying if there was a playoff game tonight, if this was super, super important, I'd be in the lineup. Fortunately for Canadiens fans, they don't have to suffer through that because Charlie Lindgren is in there killing things and making it happen. Making it happen, Captain. 1.24 goals against average. It's far too early to talk about this, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway because I know we got a lot of Canadiens fans that do check in on the Hockey Talk Show here. If this kid is the real deal, if Charlie Lindgren, born in 93, was that the last time the Canadiens won the Cup in 93? It's a sign. It's a sign. If this kid is the real deal, what do you do then? What do you do with Carey Price on a $10 million deal for 8 years? And this kid comes in here with his 1.24 goals against that. What if this kid never lets up? You going to suffer through a Fleury, Matt Murray situation again? That was brutal for a long time there in Pittsburgh. It obviously worked out great. A couple of more rings for them. Can't argue with that. But that's brutal. I don't know much about Charlie's contract here. Oh, do I have his contract on Cap Friendly? Yeah, we do. CapFriendly.com. God bless yous. God bless yous, CapFriendly.com. Let me bring this up on the screen so you guys can have a look at it here. Let's take a look at Charlie Lindgren's contract together. He's a restricted free agent next season. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Zachary Fucali. I never know how you say that guy's name. We'll have to see what he turns out to be. But what if this Charlie Lindgren plays a bunch of games for you this year? What if he's really stellar as a restricted free agent? Now, obviously, at 23, they'll have some control over him for quite some time. They can give him little raises. And the Canadiens do have some cap space to play with. They do. But what if this guy is killer and you got to make a decision in a couple of years? See, that's the weird part about this, man. And, you know, look, it's great for coaches to get in there and talk garbage about I'm going to play whoever's best and contracts don't matter. Dude, I don't know if I ever met a coach that put a $10 million goaltender on the bench for the majority of a season. This is all hypothetical. It's just fun stuff to play with and talk about. But, I mean, could you imagine? Could you imagine? 631-438-1768. We're talking some hockey on this Tuesday, November 14th. It's good to be here with you, talking trade, talking waiver moves, by the way. And we didn't even really get into this, but the whole purpose of it was the Montreal Canadiens go ahead and claim Niemi off of waivers from the Florida Panthers in a move just this afternoon. Now, I don't know who is going to start tonight for the Canadiens because I do believe that they are playing. I'll have to check the projected lineups. I do like dailyfaceoff.com for that, so I'm going to head over there right now. Throw the number out to you one more time. Call it up, 631-438-1768 to get in touch with the Hockey Talk Show and talk hockey. You want to keep leaving comments on Facebook and YouTube. That's cool with us, too. Of course, you can tweet into the show at Hockey Talk Show on Twitter. We're on Instagram and Facebook as well. Show is also available through the podcast. In case you don't want to look at my beautiful face, you can just listen, or in case you want to listen while you're driving the next day or whatever, we're on Stitcher, iTunes, Podbean, and TuneIn Radio. You can subscribe and follow the show, rate and review it if you can. That'd be awesome. But if not, you can just listen to it. I'm cool with that too. And get your hockey consumption in while you're driving or you're on the treadmill and you can't totally put your attention on the screen itself. For the Canadiens tonight, according to dailyfaceoff.com, in the net, they have Lindgren and Fucal as of right now. So I don't know if they just haven't added him to the list yet or what. It's a little early, 5 o'clock for the probable starters. I don't know if Niemi made it up there or up to Montreal just yet or whatever the case is. I wish I had that info for you. I'm sorry I don't, but it's Montreal and Columbus tonight. From Montreal at 7:30. So we'll see if Niemi makes it into the fold. And what's interesting there is they got Lindgren, they got Fucal, and they still went out and got Niemi. To me, that says this is going to be a little bit of a longer term thing. Maybe it's just a strict insurance play from Bergevin. I'm not sure. You know, maybe he's like, to hell with it. I'll hold on to this guy for 2 weeks and then we'll do whatever with him. But clearly it seems like Anthony Niemi is going to be passed around a bit. He's going to be passed around. Don't forget, too, that Bergevin did come from the Chicago Blackhawks organization, and Niemi won a cup there. So there is some background between those guys. No doubt in my mind, that's what helped him get on over there. I want to talk about jerseys. You know I love jerseys. I love them. I love talking about jerseys. Man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about here. Oh, damn it. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Jerseys, logos being announced, prospects, and then we're going to wrap it up. I got a family dinner. It's my mom's birthday today, so we got to go out with the family. Take Mama Dukes out for some dinner. Let's talk about jerseys while we're talking about the Montreal Canadiens. Today, the NHL released the NHL 100 Classic jerseys. I'll let you take a look at it for a quick second here, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the situation. Bring it up for you right there. Bam. Kind of hard to see. Can we drop the lower third just for this shot? Yeah, let's drop the lower third so everybody get a good look at it. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Look at those beauties. Look at those beauties. This is going to be the game that everybody celebrates. There's obviously been a big celebration for the centennial of the National Hockey League. But this is going to be the game that is really the focal point of the entire celebration and everything else that the National Hockey League has done. Ottawa will play Montreal in the big game. And just a couple of things to note here. And let me see if I can zoom in a little. I wonder if I could do that for you guys. Get my zoom on. Oh, yeah. What? All right, great. As you can see here, Habs got a little writing back in under the collar. And again, if you're listening on if you're listening in on the, if you're listening back on a podcast or whatever, we are 37 minutes into the show. So you can go to the Facebook page or the YouTube page and just skip forward 37 minutes. And take a look at these jerseys. The writing on the inside of the collar, I love that. I feel like Columbus was the first ones to do that, but I'm not 1,000% sure about that. But I just love it. It's just like a little tiny detail that if you're a super duper hockey fan like me, obviously you're not going to see it on the ice. But, at a pregame, something like that, people are talking about it like we are right now. You get to see it. It's just that like added little, it's like an Easter egg for diehard hockey fans. We only find these things. A couple of other things of note on the sleeves here in the silver bands. I don't know if you can see, but they have some year markers in there to show. I actually don't know what those are representing. I'll try and get more information. Look, I just got my hands on this before we went to air. So you got some year markers in there. If you notice, the stripes are pretty much similar. Ottawa with the black, the gold, the silver, and the white. Montreal with the blue and red, the traditional, and then they threw the silver in. So I like the silver on both. If you notice too, around the collar here, silver on both. So one of the things I really identified quick, and I love silver in the Habs logo instead of their normal white, silver around the Senators O right there. One of the things I love are those elements. Those things that immediately tie in and say, hey, this is a celebration of the league. Sure, it's these two teams playing, but this is a celebration of the league right here, So I love that aspect of it. I like the togetherness, even though these are two opposing teams. This is a competition. It's going to be for the 2 points, but, it's a celebration of hockey more than anything. So having similar elements in there is great. Overall, I give the designs an A+. I love them. I don't think there's a bad thing to say about these jerseys. To me, they're everything you want in a jersey that is resembling tradition. They're traditional. Love going back to the old school logo for the Senators here. Because again, the big Senator face wouldn't have been good here. It wouldn't have fit. The Canadians, there's no more tradition. You look at tradition in the damn dictionary and you'll see a Canadians logo. So there's that. I like everything. It does have that modern feel of the new NHL, of course, with the shield up front here and the break in the collar on both sides. the piping here around the neck, which stops in the front. That's a key of the new Adidas logo. So you got a little modern in there, of course, with the detailed stitching. These things you never really saw in old school jerseys. So you got a little touch of modern with a little bit of the traditional. A+ all around. Nothing bad to be said about these jerseys. That being said, I can't sit here and tell you that I kind of would have liked if the National Hockey League just went and flat out worn the original jerseys that these teams were wearing in 1917. You know, you go back and you look at the Montreal Canadiens with the brown gloves. You go back and look at the Toronto Maple Leafs with the Toronto St. Pat's jerseys, the green jerseys that they wear. You know, they're so cool looking. They've done a great job at taking those old sweaters, which were really sweaters, and turning them into modern day jerseys. I would have liked to have seen an exact replica of those old school sweaters. You remember Ottawa, it was just straight up red, black stripes straight down. You know, the Canadiens one is pretty similar, so it really wouldn't have changed too much, but I would have loved just a dead ahead. Here it is. This is exactly how it looked 100 years ago, and this is exactly how these teams are going to look today. I think that may have been a good route to go on. I really do. I like that they designed some new jerseys. Again, I'm always dying for new jerseys. Give me something to buy. Give me something for my wife and my family to buy me for Christmas. Always excited about that stuff. But at the same time, for a 100-year anniversary, man, it would have been kind of cool to just flat out go for, that old school traditional look. Like, bam, there it is. This is what the jerseys look like 100 years ago. And here they are 100 years later wearing the exact same things. I think that would have been a pretty sweet maneuver from the National Hockey League. And maybe we could have found a happy medium. Maybe they could have worn those new ones for warm-ups or, I don't know, photos or I don't know, whatever, commemorative. Here's a New Jersey, and then maybe they could have given us the other ones too at some point. Now, it's not a totally lost situation with these games, and I have to go look up the schedule, but there tends to be alumni games and a lot of other festivities wrapped around this. So, that would be a cool move if the alumni went and wore the old school jerseys. That would be something that I would be dying to see. Speaking of the outdoor games, we have the Stadium Series. They just released their logos. Our thanks to Justin Wright over at Dub Creative, senior designer at the National Hockey League, proud Syracuse alum, according to his Twitter account. He has given us a look at the Stadium Series that's going to involve the Washington Capitals down there in Annapolis. Let's make that a little bit bigger for you right there. So here's how it came to fruition. Here was Justin's doodles. You can see there a couple of ideas, obviously pulling it into the U.S. Naval Academy down there in Annapolis. And then this is exactly what he finally wound up at. Pretty cool, man, actually, when you think about it. When you look at their logo, the eagle over the boat, he kind of nailed it, throwing the eagle over the stadium sort of etchings right there. Stadium Series, work the sponsor Prime in there. You got the Naval Academy with the anchor down there, stars and bars. Very sweet. National Hockey League logo up on top. Very, very sweet. Really smart move from Justin and everybody over there at the National Hockey League. On this one, damn it if they didn't nail it. Nailed that one. Looking really good. Oh, I just realized, was it even on the screen, or was I looking at my? I'm sorry. There you go. I think I might have flubbed that one there. There you go. There's the stadium logo. There it is. Really pretty. Stars and bars logo. The eagle above. Stadium Series. Annapolis worked in the anchor. Really, really pretty. Really, really pretty logo from the National Hockey League. So we'll look at that for their Stadium Series, which always happens after the Winter Classic. Usually February, March. I forget when this one is, but February, March, we'll get a couple of games in over there. So that should be a ton of fun. Nice job on that one. I love looking at the National Hockey League logos and the jerseys and all that. It's always fun to take a look at some of that stuff. Caps and Leafs in that game, by the way. And I do think we have, let me see here. We do have We do have the logos. Let's bring it back up and go over to Aesthetics, who do a great job. Aesthetics.co. We do have the logos for the caps. You see there a simpler, shorter version of the caps with the 3 stars above it. And the Maple Leafs, I guess they're going with their more traditional logo, which, we've seen a whole bunch. I don't really like this. Is this an official thing, the caps? Logos for the event will reveal today. All right, so these are logos for the event. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's where it's going to wind up on the front of their jerseys. I definitely think that the Caps should take another look at this. That's not all that impressive. Not all that impressive whatsoever. And the Maple Leafs one, you can't argue with their traditional look. Their traditional look is their traditional look. Again, that's over at aesthetics.co. So if you ever want to grab some killer information about jerseys or logos or anything like that, aesthetics.co is the place that I always go to. 631-438-1768 to call into the Hockey Talk Show, whatever you want to talk about. You want to talk logos, you want to talk jerseys. Niemi is now a Montreal Canadian as that guy's frequent flyer miles continue to go through the roof. Niemi's been everywhere this year so far, and I think he's going to continue to get passed around a little bit here. I wish I had a better phrase than passed around, but I don't. I think he's going to get passed around from team to team until they figure out what they're doing. 631-438-1768 to call into the Hockey Talk Show. Just a couple more things to get to here before we wrap up the program. Tonight, I believe, the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to be wearing some special jerseys in warm-ups, again, as they honor the veterans. You're seeing a lot of this around the league. And I go back to my original post. If you are following the Hockey Talk Show on Facebook and YouTube, which you definitely should be. And remember, don't just like our page, follow on Facebook. Got to hit that follow button. Hit see notifications first on YouTube. Don't just subscribe. You got to hit that little bell so you know when we're going live. You get a notification. Bam, you're watching on your phone or wherever you are. I've said this in past shows, and I really do mean it. I love that the NHL does these things for Hockey Fights Cancer and our veterans. I just wish they would wear these damn jerseys in the games. Wear them in the games. Again, if you're going to get nachos or you hit a little bit of traffic and you're so excited for blah, blah, blah jersey night, you're so excited to salute the veterans. You're super excited to be there for Hockey Fights Cancer. You missed it. You missed it because the nacho line was too long. You know what I'm saying? Let me see here. Worst jersey decision, in my humble opinion, new owners of the Panthers getting rid of the Leaping Panther for those military type jerseys, taking the fun out of that uni. I like the new Panther logo uniforms. I do. I like the whole military thing. I kind of like that one. I don't know. I don't like how it doesn't go all the way around and it's a blatant ripoff of the Canadiens jersey. But I do like it. By the way, I just don't, the Panthers, I see them going back one day. I definitely see them going back. I just do. And I think there are a lot of other really bad uniform decisions too. Josh is hanging over the whole show. I love it. That's my man. But here, look at these. And by the way, I've seen a lot of the military jerseys around the league and they're super nice, but they're also kind of just, I don't want to say complacent, but they're kind of like, everybody's the same. The Pittsburgh Penguins took a step in the right direction. Bam, take a look at these bad boys. Holy bajoli. Look at these. Look at these. Again, let me take away the lower third there for you so you can get a good look. Look at the detailing on this one. I love that they went with the fatigue look, the camo look. But then also brought in the red, white, and blue numbers. You see the shoulder numbers are red and white, and the back numbers are red, white, and blue. They're outlined in white, red in between, and then you have blue. And then if you look in here really close, if you really get in here close, which I don't know how much we'll really be able to see. Oh, no, see, I broke it. It's hard to see, but I'll throw a link up on the Facebook and YouTube channels here. If you get in there really close, that are those little dots you can see are the patches for every single branch of the military. So Army, Navy, Marines, they've incorporated the patches for every single branch of the military into the numbers for the jerseys tonight. I mean, really beautiful. Really, really beautiful stuff. Now I ask you, as Marissa Tomei did in My Cousin Vinny, you go ahead and you go through all this trouble to get these jerseys. They look beautiful. I never thought that, camouflage cream tan color and the camo green would ever work with red, white, and blue at the same time. But these guys have found a way to make it work over there in Pittsburgh. You go through all this trouble and you're going to wear these things for 12 minutes, a half hour before the game even starts? What are you doing? What are you doing? These are far too gorgeous to not wear for the entire game. It's one game. Who on the face of this earth would get upset at the Pittsburgh Penguins wearing this jersey for an entire game? Who's going to show up in the stands and be all like, oh, they're wearing specialty jerseys tonight? Well, I'm leaving. This is unacceptable. Nobody's going to do that. National Hockey League does a great thing here, and then they stop short of pure, utter brilliance. They stop short of it. If they wore those things for the game, be the talk of the town. Imagine the press you'd get in Pittsburgh and everywhere else. This is not the American Hockey League. They're not wearing Don Cherry tuxedo jerseys, which are cool for the American Hockey League and the ECHL. It's all good down there, man. Here, you got nice stuff. Wear them, damn it. Wear them. Just about set to wrap up the show, but I want to just mention a couple of other quick things here because Craig Button's Craigslist came out. I like Craig Button a lot. He's been looking at draftees for 30 years. I trust his opinion on a lot of things. This is backed up by Bob McKenzie and the like. As far as the draft rankings go. And look, if you're sitting at the bottom of the stands right now or close to the bottom of the standings, if you're the Buffalo Sabres, if you're the Florida Panthers, if you're the Arizona Coyotes, who it looks like it could be, I got good news for you. Your pot of gold is about to show up. You're just about to the end of this little rainbow and your pot of gold is about to show up. Rasmus Dahlin. Remember that name. Rasmus Dahlin, Dahlin, the undisputed best player in the 2018 NHL draft. They're talking this kid up like he is going to be the next savior of a franchise. They are throwing around names like Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid when it comes to Rasmus Dahlin as far as being able to just on a dime turn a franchise around. Now, a little caution there. He's a defenseman. It's not going to happen as quick as Austin Matthews or Connor McDavid, but the potential is there. And it doesn't even matter anyway, because 2-3 years into the league, he'll catch on finally and he'll make it happen. And maybe it won't even take him 2 or 3 years. The names being thrown around with this kid, the offensive skill of an Erik Karlsson with the size of a Victor Hedman. I mean, if you could build a defenseman, and you get, yes, Rasmus Dahlin, undisputed #1 draft pick. He is, where is he from? He's from Sweden. He's from Sweden. Kid skates like the wind, makes amazing decisions, strong and physical, big size, and he's going to get bigger. They say he's going #1. That's it. Craig Button says he's #1. Get out of my face. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Bob McKenzie backs it up. He's the one who talked about the comparisons. This is what they're talking about with this kid. They say nobody's even close. 2 to 10, not even close to Rasmus Dahlin. So again, if you're the Arizona Coyotes, the Buffalo Sabres, I'm trading everybody. I'm tanking. Give me this guy. Could you imagine this kid next to Ristolainen for the next 6-7 years with Robin Lehner in net? Now you've got a team. Now you got a team with a strong defense. By the way, weird thing here in the National Hockey League, Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, Nico Hischier. If Dahlin goes #1, that will be the first or the second time in the history of the National Hockey League that a Canadian hasn't been chosen in more than 3 years. Canadians, I think there was something like 35 Canadians selected number 1 overall, and then like the next closest was Americans at like 7. I mean, Canadians go number 1. So they don't go often too long without a Canadian going number 1. So this will be only the second time in history of the National Hockey League draft that a Canadian would have not gone number 1 for more than 3 years. That's kind of crazy. McDavid, Matthews, Hischier, and then this will be Dahlin, who they predict to go number 1 for certain. So that'll be cool to see. Hey, I want to thank Josh for chiming in. For Ball Peach, that's an interesting name. Always getting your comments. And you know what's fun, too? I'm seeing the comments kind of roll in as people are watching the show on replay, which is totally the point of social media. You know, I've been sort of introducing this. So if you heard me say this before, I apologize. But, you know, I'm a radio show host here on Long Island. I used to work for the league with the New York Islanders. Wanted to do something hockey related for fun. And so I decided, let's do this, a show that is completely on demand that you could both watch and listen to at your leisure or check the live. You can tweet in, you could, you know, message in, you could call in, really just trying to build a hockey community here. I am blown away by the support so far. We have just sailed past 300 fans or so on Facebook, and we've only been going since the start of the season. So for just about a month or so. The YouTube growth is really cool, and more than anything, I'm super surprised. I can't believe how many people are downloading and listening to the podcast. So thank you for that. HockeyTalkShow.com is the website. That's HockeyTalkShow.com. It's got all our information. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere else. And we're doing live shows every day of the week. We've been doing 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4:30, like that. And we're trying to find a time that really works. That's, again, the flexible thing about this. You know, the thing that's great about this that the big networks can't really replicate is we could turn this on in a dime. Huge trade goes down, boom, we'll turn the show on and we'll all come together and talk about it. You know, something big happens on a Saturday afternoon, turn the thing on and we'll all talk about it, you know. So that's what I love about this. And we're just trying to build a community where we can all come together and talk about a lot of hockey. That was the main focus of it, because here on Long Island, you can't talk hockey anywhere. Our local sports talk stations, our local whatevers, there's just not a lot of hockey talk. And we have this great tool now, and we can do these kinds of things. I love you too, Ball Peach. So that's what we're doing. You know, that's what we're trying to build. So if you know a hockey fan, suggest the Facebook or YouTube pages to them, suggest our Twitter to them, and, we'll continue to grow this thing on, so on and so forth. I will see you guys on tomorrow's show. Not sure what we'll cover yet, but, you know, we got 24 hours for some news to break, and it's always happening in the National Hockey League. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Lots of great games tonight.